Would you accept a life of stolen moments if that was the only way to be with the person you loved? That is the central story arc in Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton story. It is a prequel miniseries that tells the origin story of the strong-willed titular queen and her nearly 6-decade marriage to King George III. Their lives were constantly interrupted by stolen moments. Set in two timelines, one tells the story of a young Queen Charlotte played by India Amartifio and her romance with a young King George III played by Corey Milcreast, while the present timeline shows the Queen's struggles to secure a legitimate heir for the Hanoverian line. Golda Rosheuvel reprises her role as Queen Charlotte from Bridgerton. Set in a fictionalized version of the Georgian Era, a young Sophia Charlotte Mecklenburg-Strelitz of Germany is reluctantly betrothed to King George. They have a meet-cute minutes before marrying where the king explains his many interests, including science, astronomy, and agriculture. He is later nicknamed Farmer George. Charlotte is instantly smitten with the charming king and agrees to the marriage willingly. And all seems perfect to the newly crowned 17-year-old queen. But this illusion is quickly interrupted when on their wedding night, the king explains their unusual living arrangement. Up until this point, the queen and the viewers are unaware of the king's secrets. Episode 4 is the narrative turning point for the series, where the story reframes the king's struggles to overcome his mental illness. It explores the king's insecurities and why he does not participate in society's social events like the Ton. He struggles with having to constantly sacrifice his own desires for the happiness or misery of a great nation. It is suggested this burden is at least partly to blame for his mental struggles, but Charlotte helps Farmer George to accept himself despite his challenges. If they are to have half a life together, then she is determined it will be the best half. Brimsley as the Queen's man has a much larger role in Queen Charlotte than he does in Bridgerton. Both Reynolds and Brimsley are quite loyal to the king, with Reynolds maintaining the king's secrets for as long as he can. While Brimsley still serves Queen Charlotte in the present timeline, Reynolds is missing from the present and is not seen or referenced in Bridgerton, so it is not likely Brimsley and Reynolds had a happy ending. One of the more affecting scenes of the show has a young Reynolds and Brimsley slow dancing to a classical version of I Will Always Love You as it fades to present-day Brimsley dancing alone, lost in memory. Young Lady Danbury, played by Arsema Thomas, is a near spot-on recreation of the elder Lady Danbury's fierce independence and strong personality. Adjoa Andoh reprises her role as the regal Lady Danbury. Most of her backstory remained a mystery in Bridgerton. We only knew that she helped raise Simon, the Duke of Hastings. In Queen Charlotte, her backstory is explored in full. From her joyless marriage to a much older husband to her blossoming spirit after he finally passes away. Though she is stuck in a loveless marriage with a man she despises, Lady Danbury is nonetheless concerned about issues of respect, title, and succession. She was also briefly in a relationship with the Queen's brother Adolphus, but when Adolphus proposes marriage, she refuses to give up her independence. One of the more interesting relationships in the show is between the young Lady Danbury and Princess Augusta, played by Michelle Fairley. On the surface, their interactions are adversarial, but there is mutual respect between them. Perhaps for the shared experience of being ambitious women in a time that did not value ambitious women. Princess Augusta, the king's mother, is constantly playing a Game of Thrones, securing her son's crown through marriage and holding parliament at bay while the king is treated in private. All is well, she is fond of saying. In the end, Princess Augusta lets go of her machinations and allows the king and queen to shape their own fates. She learns to accept her son rather than trying to fix him. In Bridgerton, Lady Danbury and the Viscountess Violet Bridgerton are close friends, and they grow closer once Simon and Daphne marry. Their lived experiences allow them to be honest in ways that are uncommon in this society. In Queen Charlotte, the origin of their friendship is revealed. Their story is quite affecting and involves paper hats that Violet's father was fond of making. The use of the hats in the final episode allows these actors to say so much without saying anything specific. Queen Charlotte, a Bridgerton Story is the best season of Bridgerton so far. Its story is deeper, more impactful, and it reframes the events of the first two seasons of Bridgerton in a way that makes them richer retroactively. Set during the fictional Great Experiment, where people of color were included in high society and given titles of nobility, Queen Charlotte is at heart a story about acceptance and love. Given the recent real-life experiences of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, this story resonates with the challenges of the current society. King George's mental illness is never given a proper name. It is speculated that the real King George had bipolar disorder. Though their marriage faced many challenges, Queen Charlotte shows that love endures and perseveres. They both find ways to adapt to the challenges of growing a family and living with mental illness. This is underscored by the show's beautiful and understated end, with the elder Charlotte and George finding comfort and refuge underneath the bed, their feet sticking out. Despite their royal surroundings, they found the best half in the simplest places. A soft thank you shared between them says more than any monologue ever could. If you enjoyed this review, please consider subscribing and clicking the bell notification. Thank you for watching.